All right, so we're in here. I'm the Shock Exchange, of course, and this is Trump and the GE. Congress impeaches judge who released Iryna Zarutska killer. So this could be a new flashpoint for the U.S. In late August, a homeless man by the name of DeCarlos Brown Jr. stabbed a Ukrainian immigrant, Iryna Zarutska, in the neck and killed her on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ruska was 23 years old. She was here from Ukraine, a war-torn Ukraine, trying to escape violence and ran into violence. Saw the U.S. as a safe haven, came here for a better life and escaped the war going on in Ukraine, and ended up dying on public transportation in Charlotte, North Carolina, in plain sight. Crazy. She boarded a train and sat in front of DeCarlos Brown Jr. minding her own business. Within a couple of minutes of boarding the train, he got up and stabbed her in front of everybody, in front of a bunch of people. It happened so quickly, I guess people couldn't really react. I think she ended up dying on the train. Sad. And the corporate media is not really covering it. And DeCarlos Brown Jr. was a homeless man. He had 14 prior felonies. And people now wondering, why was he on the street? Black guy stabbed a white woman, blonde hair, and the corporate media is not covering it. Where I think a lot of white people are upset because if there had been a white person who stabbed a black person, people felt it would have been a national incident. Because you have all these Negro whispers on TV. Every time something involves a black person dying, it's all over the news. If the black person doesn't die, they really don't care, or they don't care if the perpetrator is white. And the incident a couple years ago that involved, I guess, Daniel Penny, where he choked out a homeless man on the subway who was harassing people, and he choked him out. I think Daniel Penny was a former military person, military veteran, killed the guy. It was a national incident, and he was brought up on manslaughter charges. He didn't get charged. He beat the charges, and a lot of Republicans rallied around Daniel Penny. They made an issue of it. He's an American hero. You had a homeless man who acted deranged, harassing people. He was known to harass people, and they thought Daniel Penny was a hero. Now you have someone who didn't step in, and people are wondering, like, why not? And people wish somebody had stepped in to stop the attack on Iryna Zarutska. So the powers that be are upset. It's reached the level of President Trump. He spoke out on it. A lot of bloggers, a lot of people in the alternative media have spoken up on it. Now Congress has sent a letter to the chief judge of the North Carolina Judicial District 21 to have the magistrate judge who released DeCarlos Brown Jr. impeached. So it's led by Congressman Tim Moore from North Carolina. I'm going to try to share my screen. Here's what the congressman had to say on Twitter today. So today I read a letter calling for the removal of Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes, who released a 14-time offender who went on to murder Iryna Zarutska in Charlotte. This tragedy was preventable. There must be accountability. North Carolinians deserve better. So, oops. Maybe I didn't share my screen. Apologize. Anyway, so I just read it on Twitter, but here's a letter that he's referring to. It says, "Dear Chief Judge Wiggins, we are writing to urge that you initiate proceedings under North Carolina General Statute 7A-173A for the removal of Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes from office. That statute provides for the removal of a magistrate for willful and persistent failure to perform the duties of the office or conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice that brings the judicial office into disrepute. Magistrate Stokes' actions in the case of DeCarlos Brown Jr. clearly meet both of these grounds for removal. In January 2025, Magistrate Stokes authorized the release of Brown based solely on his written promise to appear for a future court date. This decision was made despite Brown's extensive criminal history, which included at least 14 prior arrests for serious offenses such as possession of a firearm by a felon, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and physical assault of his sister. In 2014, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for robbery with a dangerous firearm. The January charge, a Class 1 misdemeanor, arose after Brown became combative with police officers. Yet despite this history of violent and unstable behavior, Magistrate Stokes released Brown without requiring bond or imposing any meaningful conditions to safeguard the public. So they're asking for her to be impeached, to be removed. These policymakers, they want heads. I think they're going to bring federal charges against DeCarlos Brown and bring him, prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, which they should. But I think the Republicans are going to make an issue of it. It's an open Senate seat in North Carolina. I think the person running as a Republican is going to make an issue of this. How he's law and order, how Trump is law and order, and that North Carolina is not a law and order, and that certain policymakers in North Carolina or Charlotte area don't seem to be taking this as seriously, and that if it was a white person who attacked a black person, maybe the public would be more outraged. Maybe there would be marches, so on and so forth. So policymakers are upset. This could be a flashpoint, and it could drive a narrative for the next few years, especially leading to the midterm elections, where you have the President Trump has already brought troops into Washington D.C. He's threatened to bring troops into Chicago and other cities who he feel have run amok with crime, and need the federal government to step in and bring down crime and to protect citizens. So that's Trump energy. Congress impeaches judge who released Iryna Zarutska killer. Thank you.